Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today, by request, we're going to discuss the 1111 phenomenon and try to unveil the mystery of what this means. We've all had that experience where we see the 1111. Maybe it's a combination of numbers or it's the time of day, and we feel something significant is happening in that moment. That those numbers mean more than just a random pattern that has appeared before us. When we see the 1111, what does it mean? Every now and then, a simple moment captures your attention and transforms into something profound. Something that resonates with the deepest parts of your being. For me and countless others across the globe, that moment has often been marked by the sight of a digital clock displaying 1111. This phenomenon, seemingly mundane, has become a symbol of synchronicity, mystery, and a touch of the unknown in our daily lives. I remember the first time I heard that 1111 was significant. I had heard that if you see the 1111, that angels are talking to you. And it was a chilly autumn evening, and I was sifting through some old photographs, lost in the nostalgia of bygone days. And as the clock neared midnight, I glanced up, seeking a sense of the hour. And here it was, 1111. And I asked myself, am I being communicated with? Does the fact that I'm looking at old family photographs mean anything? Initially, it was just a curious coincidence, a fleeting thought that passed as quickly as it came. However, as days turned into weeks and months, these numbers began to appear with uncanny regularity. Whether it was waking up in the middle of the night, glancing at my phone during a busy day, or pausing a movie for a brief moment, 1111 was there, greeting me like an old friend, watching the football game. And there's a timeout at 11:11 in the fourth quarter. I see it all the time. So this episode is born out of a personal journey, a quest to understand why these numbers kept appearing in my life and the lives of so many others. Was it merely a trick of the mind? A psychological pattern formed from a random habit? Or was there something more, a deeper, perhaps spiritual significance to this phenomenon? This curiosity led me down various paths, from the logical realms of science and psychology to the mystical and spiritual interpretations of numerology and synchronicity. In this episode, we will explore the multifaceted nature of the 1111 phenomenon and try to delve into its roots and understand its significance and examine scientific and psychological aspects that may explain its occurrence. Moreover, I will go over stories I've heard from individuals who have their own unique experiences and interpretations. My hope is that this will provide insight into the 1111 phenomenon, but to encourage you to reflect on the small, seemingly insignificant moments of your life that may hold deeper meanings. Whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or simply a curious soul, I hope that you find something in this exploration, just as it did with me. The enigma of 1111, as it stands today, is a mosaic of history, culture, and the human inclination towards pattern recognition. Its origins are shrouded in a blend of anecdote and folklore that are not easily pinpointed in history. However, the fascination with numerical sequences and their perceived significance has ancient roots. The earliest recorded instances where numbers held a mystical or significant meaning can be traced back to civilizations like the Babylonians and Egyptians. These cultures had a profound understanding of mathematics and astronomy, often attributing divine or mystical significance to certain numbers and patterns. However, the specific sequence of 1111 does not prominently feature in these ancient systems. It was during the rise of numerology, a practice that emerged strongly in the works of early Greek philosophers like Pythagoras, that numbers began to be seen as more than just mathematical entities. Pythagoras famously believed that numbers were the essence of all life and had unique properties that connected them to the cosmos and the spiritual realms. However, the direct reference to 1111 in these works is at best tangential. Moving into the medieval and Renaissance periods, the study of numerology intertwined with astrology and alchemy, with scholars often seeking hidden meanings in numbers. The number 11 was sometimes considered a master number, embodying spiritual insights and enlightenment. But again, specific references to 1111 were not explicitly made. The interpretation of 1111 began to gain more modern recognition in the 20th century. This was when the phenomenon transitioned from a numerological curiosity to a broader cultural and spiritual symbol. In Western cultures, particularly with the rise of New Age philosophies in the 60s and 70s, numbers like 1111 started gaining a following as signs of spiritual awakening or moments of synchronicity. A term popularized by Carl Jung, which refers to coincidences that hold significant meaning for the observer. In Eastern cultures, while the specific sequence of 1111 wasn't emphasized, there has been a long-standing tradition attributing special meaning to numbers. In Chinese culture, for example, the number 11 is often seen as auspicious, symbolizing new beginnings and the avoidance of bad luck. However, the doubling of 11 to create 1111 is a relatively new phenomenon in the East and seems to have more of its roots in Western numerology and pop culture. In the digital age, the prominence of 1111 suddenly escalated. The digital representation of time on clocks and electronic devices has made it easier for people to notice and attach significance to this particular time. Social media has further amplified this, with people around the world sharing their experiences and interpretations encountering 1111. We all have friends on Facebook, on Twitter, that will post random pictures of an 1111 at any time. It feels significant and powerful, so much so that oftentimes we want to share it. And in the manifestation community, it often means, for me personally, that I'm on the right path, that my actions are aligned with the manifestations that I'm trying to create. Now, Quo tells us that when the 1111 happens, it's always specific to the person that's involved, and it has something to do with what is going on specifically for that person at that moment when they see the 1111. From ancient numerology to modern-day digital culture, the sequence has transcended time and geography, morphing into a symbol that resonates with people across different cultures and beliefs. As we continue to explore this phenomenon, we uncover not just a sequence of numbers, but a mirror reflecting our collective consciousness and its evolution through the ages. Now, I need to talk about the reticular activating system, and when you understand it, your understanding of the 1111 will change a little bit. The reticular activating system, often referred to as the reticular activating device, plays a crucial role in understanding the 1111 phenomenon from a psychological and neurological perspective. This part of the brain is instrumental in regulating wakefulness and sleep-wake transitions. However, its function extends beyond these basic tasks to include a significant role in understanding and controlling attention and filtering information. The RAS acts as a filter for the myriad of stimuli that our senses encounter every day. We encounter so many numbers and so much information that the RAS decides what information is important enough to get attention and what can safely be ignored. And this filtering process is essential because it prevents sensory overload and allows us to focus on what is most relevant in our environment. One of the key aspects of the RAS is its ability to recognize patterns. This ability is not just limited to visual patterns, but extends to any form of repetitive stimuli, including numbers. When a particular pattern or sequence like 1111 is deemed significant or interesting by an individual, the RAS is primed to identify and highlight these occurrences. This phenomenon is often referred to as selective attention. The frequent citing of 1111 can then be explained by us looking through the lens of the RAS functioning. When someone takes note of the time 1111, either because of its symmetry, personal significance, or cultural reference, the reticular activating system is alerted to this pattern. Subsequently, the brain will unconsciously look out for this specific time, leading to a heightened awareness and increased instances of noticing 1111 on clocks or other digital displays. This does not mean the 1111 appears more frequently than other times, but rather that your brain is selectively attentive to it. This selective attention often leads to confirmation bias, a cognitive bias that involves favoring information that confirms previously existing beliefs. Once someone starts noticing 1111 and attaching significance to it, the RAS aids in highlighting these occurrences, reinforcing the belief that there is something special about this particular time. Now, I'm not saying this to undermine the true meaning of the 1111, but we must talk about it if we are going to discuss this phenomenon. The reticular activating system's role in the 1111 phenomenon is a prime example of how the human brain's pattern recognition and selective attention capabilities can lead to the ascription of significance to otherwise ordinary occurrences. Oftentimes, the RAS is responsible for what people are saying that they're manifesting. When you decide that you want to buy a blue Nissan, your RAS is flipped on and you will start driving on the road and you will see blue Nissans everywhere. Where were they before? They were always there. You were simply not attentive to it. And once your brain is turned on, then you will see them. So when someone says, I want to manifest a girl in a black dress to walk by me, and then a girl in a black dress walks by you, it does not mean that you manifested that. It simply means that you turned on your RAS and the girl with the black dress walks by. So I'm trying to figure out what the meaning of 1111 is beyond just my brain selectively becoming attentive to it. And so sometimes we can learn from the experiences that we have, whether it's just a pattern recognition or something more. And that is related to what is happening in the moment when you witness the 1111. But why the 1111 and not 222 or 333 or 444? Numbers have always held a significant place in human culture and spirituality since ancient times. For example, in Chinese culture, numbers like 8 are considered extremely lucky due to their phonetic similarity to the word for prosper or wealth. Conversely, the number 4 is often avoided because it sounds like the word death. Similarly, in Western cultures, the number 13 is often associated with bad luck, a superstition that has its roots in religious beliefs and historical events, and many hotels do not have a 13th floor because of it. In numerology, the study of the mystical significance of numbers, 1111 is often considered a powerful symbol. The number 11 is known as a master number, which means it's associated with spiritual insight, higher energies, and intuitive understanding. The repetition in 1111 is believed to amplify this power, symbolizing a gateway or a wake-up call from the universe. This interpretation varies among individuals and cultures, but generally revolves around the ideas of awakening, spiritual opportunities, and synchronicity. I've certainly talked about numbers recently with Grabavoy codes, as well as golden codes of Shambhala and quantum healing codes. And for the golden codes, 1111 means alignment. On the other hand, in an article for Psychology Today, John W. Hoop says you're likely experiencing apophenia, an error of perception, the tendency to interpret random pattern as meaningful. We humans are insanely good at noticing and registering certain things that are on our minds at the moment, more so than with topics that don't seem so important to us. Are you thinking about whether you should really buy that new expensive bag? If so, you'll almost certainly start to see it everywhere. Have you and your partner started trying to get pregnant? You may have the feeling that everyone around you suddenly has to do with babies. Scientists call this phenomenon selective perception, and the term describes the human characteristic of the psyche to believe certain aspects in our environment more intensely while we completely block out others. And particularly, our brain finds patterns attractive and exciting, which is why we tend to unconsciously look at the clock at the same time every day and think it's a coincidence every time. Priming and framing, two psychological causes of selective perception, also play a major role. They unconsciously entice us to perform certain actions over and over again, often without properly registering the trigger stimulus. So if we whip out our phone at 11:11 a.m. several days in a row, a psychological thought pattern in our brain may also be responsible. The subconscious mind also plays a crucial role in how we perceive and react to patterns, like 11:11. Our subconscious can influence us to look at the clock at just the right time, driven by an internal or external cue that we might not be consciously aware of. This phenomenon is partly governed by the RAS that we mentioned earlier. One phenomenon that I encountered for a long time was I kept on seeing 11:12. Every time I looked, it was 11:12. Or if it was 11:10, I would wait and just stare at the clock. Something would distract me, and the next time I looked at it, it was 11:12, and I would miss the 11:11. And so I went through a period of time where it felt like I never saw the 11:11, and it felt like to me this symbolized that I wasn't in alignment or I was just missing something. That particular insight did lead me to reevaluate what I was doing and to see that maybe I needed to make some alterations and some changes. I felt like my guides had communicated with me in that time. You're almost there, but not quite. For many, the number 1111 is viewed as a conduit for spiritual awakening and heightened consciousness. The 1111 is not just a time or number or pattern, but a symbol that can carry messages from the universe or higher powers. Remember, everything can be true. We can be pattern-oriented. It could be the reticular activating device. It could be the subconscious mind, or it could simply be behavioral patterns that we've interpreted, and at the same time, it can have meaning. And so that's how I look at it. It could be any number of those things. This perspective sees 1111 not just as a time or a number, but as a symbol that carries a message. And that's how it's fun to interpret it as that. It's a sign that I need to tune in with my inner thoughts and the universe's energies, and it serves as a reminder to focus on positive thoughts and intentions. It is a catalyst. It is a trigger for me, perhaps to do an affirmation, to remember to do something in particular. This interpretation is also tied to the idea of synchronicity. Jung suggested that these events are meaningful coincidences. If they occur with no causal relationship, yet seem to be meaningfully related. In this context, the 1111 can be perceived as not a mere coincidence, but as a meaningful signal or message. And while the specific sequence of 1111 does not have a direct reference in major religious texts, the concept of significant numbers and times is a recurring theme in many religious traditions. Biblical numerology has been a topic of interest, with numbers like 7 signifying perfection, or 12 representing the 12 tribes of Israel or the 12 apostles, holding significant meaning. And while 1111 isn't directly mentioned, the importance given to numbers would be extrapolated to include various interpretations. The Kabbalah, a form of Jewish mysticism, delves deeply into the significance of numbers. Numbers have a place in Islamic tradition as well, where certain numbers are seen as having special significance. The number 19, for example, has been interpreted as having mystical properties in the Quran. In the more esoteric and occult traditions, 1111 is often perceived as a gateway to deeper spiritual and mystical knowledge. Astrology and tarot, for instance, have their unique ways of interpreting numbers. While 1111 might not be directly represented, the underlying numerology in these practices often leads to insightful interpretations about this number sequence. Alchemy and Hermeticism, ancient practices that blend elements of mysticism, spirituality, and early science, delve into the symbolism of numbers in more complex ways. In these traditions, This could be viewed as a code or a key to unlocking higher spiritual dimensions or truths. Contemporary mystical practices often marry traditional beliefs with New Age ideas, and using 1111 as a focal point for meditation, manifestation, or as an indicator of alignment with the universe's energies. Now, I couldn't talk about the 1111 phenomenon without talking about angel numbers. If you believe that you are being communicated with, there's a whole entire science almost about angel numbers. Angel numbers are a concept deeply rooted in numerology and spirituality. These numbers are sequences that are said to be messages from the divine or spiritual realm, often conveyed by angels as a means of guidance, reassurance, or warning to individuals on Earth. Each sequence, typically seen as a set of repeating numbers, is believed to carry a specific meaning or significance. Perhaps you see these numbers on a license plate or a billboard, and it means something. The idea behind angel numbers is that the universe communicates with us through divine signs, and one of the most accessible ways for this communication to occur is through numbers. Numbers are ubiquitous in our daily lives, making them an ideal medium for conveying messages from the spiritual realm. When certain number sequences appear repeatedly in a person's life, whether on clocks or license plates or receipts or even random places, it can be interpreted as a sign that the angels are trying to communicate, and each number sequence is believed to have its own unique meaning. For example, seeing a series of 111 might be interpreted as a prompt to pay attention to one's thoughts or intentions, as it's often associated with manifestation. A sequence of 333 might be seen as a sign of encouragement, indicating that one is on the right path or supported by the universe or spiritual guides. In the context of angel numbers, 1111 holds a special place. It's often regarded as one of the most powerful and significant number sequences. The number 1 itself is generally seen as symbolizing new beginnings, independence, and the manifestation of personal goals and dreams. Therefore, the amplification of 1 in the sequence 1111 is thought to magnify these qualities significantly. The appearance of 1111 is frequently interpreted as a wake-up call or a sign of spiritual awakening. It's as if the universe is pointing out an opportunity for growth or reminding you to focus on your inner world and spiritual development. And some believe that seeing it signifies that your spirit guides or angels are nearby, offering their guidance and support. They can't talk to you directly. Imagine them walking in front of you, yelling at you, and you can't hear anything. So the only thing they can do is subtly guide your attention to notice these repeating numbers. So while 1111 is a notable and often discussed angel number, it's part of a broader spectrum of repeating number sequences that people report seeing. Each of these sequences, be it 222, 444, or 555, and so forth, has its own associated meanings and messages. The common thread among them is the belief that these numbers are not coincidental, but are meaningful signs meant to guide and comfort or inform. The concept of angel numbers, and particularly the prominence of the 1111 phenomenon, highlights a human desire to find meaning and guidance in life. This is what some of these numbers supposedly mean. While I am no expert, this is what I've been able to find. 111 or 1111 is often associated with manifestation. It's believed to be a sign that your thoughts are manifesting rapidly. So it's important to focus on what you truly desire and not what you fear. In the case of 1111, similar to 1111 on a clock, it is often seen as a wake-up call or a sign of spiritual awakening. 222 is about balance, harmony, and cooperation. It's often interpreted as a sign to trust the path you are on, maintain faith in the process, and understand that everything will work out as it's supposed to. It may also indicate the need for self-harmony or relationship to harmony. 333 is often seen as a sign that the universe and ascended masters are working with you. It's a reminder that you're supported in your life journey and spiritual growth. It can also signify the need to make important decisions and the presence of growth opportunities. 444 is thought to represent protection and encouragement. It's a reassuring sign from the universe that your guides are close and supporting you, offering strength and stability during your journey. 4444 in the golden codes of Shambhala simply means manifestation. Now, 555 signifies major life changes and personal transformation. 555 is often seen as a precursor to new experiences or paths. It's considered a clear sign that you should be ready for what's coming, embracing changes and opportunities. According to experts, 666 is often misunderstood due to cultural associations. In the context of angel numbers, 666 can signify a need for balance and reevaluation. It may remind you to focus your thoughts on positive outcomes and to find harmony in your material and spiritual worlds. Side note, Neville Goddard says that 666, when added together, is 18, which means 9, which is the number for humanity. Now, 777 is a sequence often associated with good fortune, miracles, and an alignment with the universe. It can be seen as encouragement that you're on the right path, and the universe is congratulating you for your spiritual progress. I was born on the 7th day, and 7 is a repeating number everywhere I go. It's always been a sign that things are going well. Who knows if it's true, but I notice this pattern in particular all the time. Now, 888 relates to abundance, whether in the form of wealth, health, or love. It can signify a phase of your life where your thoughts and actions will be particularly powerful, especially in terms of material and financial matters. At the beginning of my channel, there was somebody in my group that was obsessed with the 888 and would constantly post all the time blessing people with the 888. And she really deeply believed that that was the secret to her success and manifestation power. 999 represents completion, and this number sequence often appears at the end of a phase or cycle in your life. It suggests that one chapter is closing and another is about to begin. It can also be a call to humanitarian service or to focus on greater purpose. Each of these sequences carries its own unique vibration and message, believed to be tailored to the individual encountering them. So what I ask is, what does that number mean to you? Just like dream interpretation, the 777 may have specific meaning for you. And if you are working with guides that know your every thought, move, and action, these numbers may not be reliant on any angel guide or place that you go to that means something. It may mean something specifically to you. And so that is something I've found to look in and focus at, because it's a revealing of some subconscious motivation or thought that can be helpful. Look at numbers just like you're in a dream, and look at dreams as symbols just like anything else. Of course, doing what I do and talking about what I talk about every day, I meet people all the time that have had significant, powerful events related to the 1111, which tells me that it's something more than just a pattern. I have a friend who recalls the day she signed her first teaching contract. Glancing at the clock exactly at 11:11, she felt an overwhelming sense of being in the right place at the right time, and so it was important to her that she signed this contract at 11:11. Another friend is a retired veteran. He started noticing it after passing of his wife. He found it on clocks and receipts and even random page numbers, and to him, it felt like a message from his wife, assuring him that she was still with him in spirit. This recurring number brought him great comfort in his time of grief. There was an entrepreneur I knew that was at a crossroads about whether to expand her business. The frequent sighting of 1111, especially during moments of deep contemplation about her decisions, felt like a nudge from the universe, and so she went ahead with the expansion of her business, which turned out to be a success. And in some ways, she says following those particular signs was a way of following her intuition, and her intuition had guided her into that decision. The influence of 1111 on individual beliefs and choices is varied as it is profound. For some, like Michael, a skeptic turned spiritual enthusiast, the frequent encounter with 1111 led to a profound shift in beliefs. He always dismissed it as a coincidence. The persistence of these occurrences became a catalyst that opened him to explore spiritually more deeply, changing his view of the world. There was a writer I knew that found that seeing 1111 would motivate her to focus on positive thoughts and actions. It became a reminder for her to take a moment, to become mindful, and breathe and realign her thoughts towards her goals. And this, she claims, significantly improved her mental well-being and productivity. There was a couple who often noticed 1111 together. This number sequence became a special part of their relationship, and they took it as a sign to cherish each moment and to strengthen their bond. It became a small yet significant ritual for them to make a wish or share a positive thought or affirmation whenever they saw the 1111. I want you to share your 1111 stories so that we can establish that this goes beyond just pattern recognition. That's the thing that happens when you start to discuss this stuff, is when you hear the stories of others, you realize there may be something more to it. So in the comments, please share your stories about 1111. Maybe a profound event or something happened for you that indicated this 1111 holds a unique place in your life and for how you experienced it. When I attempt to channel and try to divine what this means deep within, I am told that reality is a consciousness simulation, illusions or dreams created by digital codes based on a Fibonacci sequence. Numeric codes define our existence and experience. Human DNA are genetic memory triggers with digital codes at specific times and frequencies as we experience it. And 11 is one of those codes, meaning activation of twin spiraling human DNA. And when we see the 1111 pattern, it actually is triggering that part of our DNA linked to remember that we exist in a simulation. And for many, this will lead to an ongoing series of synchronicities to find truth. But the best way to understand it is that 1111 can be a catalyst or trigger for you. If you are regularly seeing this number, let's just assume that it's important and take a moment, at least a couple of seconds, and go within and just become mindful in the present moment. Enter in what's happening in this moment. Did I see some bit of information on TV? Am I hearing a song? Is there a message in this moment? And then use this as a reminder to take a moment and imagine your reality in the way that you wish to imagine it. And then say an affirmation. Create an affirmation that's ready to go whenever you see the 1111, and then use it. It can be used as a reminder to pause and bring yourself back to the present. It can serve as a trigger to momentarily step away from the hustle of daily life and engage in a brief period of mindfulness. Seeing it can be a cue for self-reflection. It can prompt you to consider your current life path, reassess your goals and aspirations, and reflect on your personal and spiritual growth. For some, it can become a tool for emotional regulation and stress relief. The repetitive nature of this phenomenon can bring a sense of familiarity and comfort. Beyond personal growth, stories abound of individuals using 1111 as a guide or sign in decision-making processes, adding an interesting dimension to how this phenomenon influences life choices. There are numerous accounts of people who were contemplating significant life decisions, whether changing a job, moving to a new city, or entering a new relationship, and took the recurring reappearance of 1111 as a sign to proceed. While not based on logical reasoning, this intuitive approach has guided many through important crossroads in their lives. Some individuals interpret the frequent sighting of 1111 as an indication they are on the right path, and that's how I try to interpret it. The sense of synchronicity, feeling in tune and alignment with the universe, can be incredibly affirming, especially during times of uncertainty or change. Among the most compelling aspects are the stories of those who made pivotal life changes following their experiences with 1111. Whether or not these changes were directly influenced by seeing it, for many it was a contributing factor that gave them the confidence or the push they needed to make significant shifts in their lives. So when I see the 1111, I say to myself, I am open to receiving guidance and wisdom from the universe. At this moment of synchronicity, I trust that I'm on the right path and everything is aligning for my highest good. You can create your own affirmation, but use it. You don't have to believe that it's magical, but you can use this as a trigger to awaken yourself in the present moment and to align yourself with your manifestations. So let me know what you think. I'd love to know your perspective on this and what you believe that it means. Perhaps there's something I missed. So I will definitely be reading the comments. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. I'd love it if you checked out my art. You can find it at www.newearth.art. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.